Boat maintenance costs are usually kept behind closed doors, but transparency helps the whole community. Costs can vary a great deal depending on where in the world you are, the type of boat you have, and what needs to be done. So today, we want to share how much we spent for a 15-day haul out in Mexico, including shipyard costs, labor, supplies, shipping, and materials. We're going to break down every single line item from our recent experience at the shipyard in La Cruz de Huanacaxtle. Hey everyone, and welcome back aboard. If you're new here, I'm Alexa. I gave up my middle school teaching gig after 20 years of working in public schools. I now work remotely as an online educational consultant. This guy is my best friend and husband, Pat. Pat is a captain for Alaska Airlines, which means he simply commutes to work from wherever we have Noeta moored. And rounding out our crew is Gilligan, our 9-year-old boat cat who has lived on the water his entire life and mostly contributes balls of fluff. Over the past 9 years, we've lived full-time aboard a Nordhavn 46, a 50, and now our 57, cruising everywhere from the Canadian Gulf Islands down to Mexico and the east coast of Rhode Island to Florida. We've hauled out multiple boats on both coasts of the U.S. and have seen a giant difference in costs from one coast to the other and between the U.S. and Mexico. This summer, we completed dozens of projects while hauled out near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and we wanted to share with you what it all cost. Let's get to it. All right, here we go. Pat and I do like to do most of our projects DIY. We do really like to do everything ourselves. However, some things we do like to leave to experts, and we knew these guys in this La Cruz shipyard would do a great job. There are yards that will let you paint the bottom of your boat. Pat has painted the bottom of our boat, other boats in former yards.
And it's a lot of work. And I knew I didn't want to do this one because we knew we were going to have to take it down to the bottom, bare fiberglass gel coat. I didn't want to do that.
No.
So.
And we knew these guys would do a great job.
Yeah.
And we had originally anticipated 1 week in the yard. We did need to extend to 2 weeks, not because they weren't working or well enough, but we had 10 coats of paint on the bottom of this boat.
23 years of paint.
Yeah. And they hand scraped everything off the bottom of the boat.
Yeah, which affects cost. I think that actually, I don't know if it's a push, like labor-wise. I mean, these guys are scraping it by hand versus a lot of yards like in the States or elsewhere will soda blast it. That's quicker, but that's also quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah. So it worked out. So we ended up having 2 weeks in the yard. So here are all the prices of things for the yard.
Well, the cost for the travel lift in and out, they call that a round trip. The hydro wash, basically pressure washing the bottom of the boat, placement, putting up on stands, the yard, that was $1,100.
Okay. And then another yard cost is each night you stay in a yard, oftentimes there's a fee for that. So we stayed 15 days, 14 nights. It was $68 a day, which came to a total of $952 for that 2-week stay. We were plugged into power, but we didn't have to pay power.
Yeah, the only thing running was the freezers and the refrigeration. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, so that was for 15 nights in the yard. And they were super flexible. First, we just needed 1 week, and then it was maybe 10 days, and they were very flexible with us about extending that stay.
The yard labor to remove by hand scrape, all the way down to gel coat, sand, clean the prop, the strainers, prep, apply the epoxy, and the new bottom paint. That was $4,200 US.
And that was to SeaTech Mexico, and that was Peter Vargas and his crew, and that was just for all of that painting. So just the painting work, labor was $4,200.
One of the things we did was change the through holes, the existing through holes, the 2-inch. We wanted new metal, new seacocks. We had them replace the transducer, and there was a little bit of fiberglass work involved with that, and added a new through hole. That was just simply drilling a hole, and then I already had the hardware. And the cost for doing that, and that was per hour, it was an hourly rate, that was $2,225 US.
Yeah, and that included, they also put the zincs on for us at the end, and they also helped us with the anchor chain. I mean, they helped out with a lot of other little things, and that again was to SeaTech Mexico. Peter's group.
You hire the yard to haul the boat, pressure wash it, put it on stands, And then you have, in this case, a contractor, Peter Vargas and C-Tech. They're the people that we used to do all the work.
Mm-hmm. And then one more fee to C-Tech. We did ask them to do prop speed on the main propeller, the wing, the shaft, the thrusters. They also put a clear coat on the transducer and the lights, and the cost for that extra labor was $450. Again, it was something we could have done, but if you watch the video, there's some real detail work
It was
to
worth
it.
every penny.
It was worth every penny on that to have them do it. There were some just miscellaneous materials that Peter had to have, of course, his brushes and sandpaper, lots and lots of paint stripper. We did have to have extra of that.
Yeah, we used extra, I think twice as much as what he planned on.
Yeah, rollers, brushes, all of his materials he had to bring in came to a cost of $2,435.
For those of you that saw her live, we quoted some prices that were actually lower than what it ended up being, just because it took longer to do a lot of the work.
Yeah,
mostly the bottom.
Yeah. One other yard labor cost, we did tip all of the guys in cash on the last day. I asked Peter if I should give it to him. He said, no, just hand it to the guys. They appreciate that. So I did walk around. I tipped everybody. Luis, who you saw lots of times in our previous videos, who did a lot of work, I did extra double,
a lot of
triple
detail
tip him.
expertise work.
Yeah, I tipped those guys, and also the shipyard guys, the ones that helped us launch the boat in and out of the sling. I also made sure I tipped all those guys. So tip, and once you add all the beers and cash, probably $500 or so altogether when I tipped everybody. So that was just one other little budget line item. All right, let's talk about materials that we purchased coming into the yard.
There's two ways to do it. You could buy the paint and the materials directly from Mexico Marine in this case, or from Peter Vargas as paint. But we could get the paint and all that stuff significantly cheaper. I have a discount at Fisheries Supply up in Seattle.
But what logistically, you order it in the States, then you need a shipper to bring it down to you, and that shipper is going to want a receipt with how much it costs, and then on top of that, you'll get charged, I think it's a 29% tax to import it into Mexico. If you buy it off a dealer in Mexico, they've already added that 29% plus whatever they're going to make on top of it. So we were able to get a few things we decided we would have shipped in.
Well, we bought 9 gallons of paint. We did the Seahawk Tropicoat. It's a hard paint, and that was my price was $2,583. We did 3 2-gallon kits of epoxy barrier coat, and that was $500, just a little over $500. We had to buy an extra gallon or kit of it because we were short, and that kit,
we bought it here in Mexico,
was $500.
So one kit equaled the price of the 2 kits that we got in the States.
Yeah, we did underwater lights. We did 4 Lumitech Quattros, and that was $1,100. And then for our smiley face,
very important.
It's 1 liter. It's yellow bottom paint, so it's anti-fouling, and that was $119.
That was for our smiley face. We had to have the yellow.
Prop speed.
We did order prop speed from a chandlery here, Mexico Marine. They also then had to pay to have it shipped, and so 2 of those 1 liter kits were $1,600, which because we had to ship and pay the
import duty and tax and whatever Mexico wants.
That was priced quite a bit higher. Yeah. So if you have an opportunity, if you're down in another country and you can have somebody bring it on another boat or fly in with something.
Yeah, interesting. If we could have put all this on another boat, we wouldn't have paid any shipping or duty.
We would have saved thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Because the shipping costs, so just to get it from Fisheries, our paint from Fisheries to San Diego, that was $225 because it was on a pallet. But then we needed to ship it from San Diego with a shipper and get it down to Loretto, which is where we were at the time. And that was $900 just to get it from San Diego with all the import fees and everything. So we would have saved a lot of money if we didn't have to pay any shipping. Yeah.
Some other stuff that we sourced and had shipped down was the hardware and the plumbing for the extra through hole, the replacing the through holes in the seacocks, the hoses, strainers, the transducer, new zincs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was $2,327. One of the exciting things we decided to do was re-galvanize the chain. We don't know how it's going to work because it doesn't always work well. In this case, they hot dipped it, which is the preferred method, and it looks great. But that process involved the guy coming down from Guadalajara, picking it up, dipped it, and round trip, it was $1,700. We tipped the driver $25.
Another subcontractor person that we had come in was Elizabeth Shanahan, and she is an insurance survey. Well, condition and value was the survey that we had her do. So her rates are $25 per foot up to a 50-foot boat, or $28 a foot for a 50 to 80-foot boat, just a lot more systems the bigger you are. So a 57-foot boat is $1,400 at that rate. Another expense, it's just kind of a hidden one, is if your boat is in the yard for 2 weeks, where are you going to be?
Well, if you live aboard like us, we had to go somewhere.
We had to go somewhere.
And it's summer and it's hot and humid, so
yeah, so you need to figure that as a cost some yards let you stay on board your boat, which brings its own extra complications with toilets and running water and all of that. But we did move off for 2 weeks. I was very fortunate. I had done some work for this friends of ours who have
it's a little hotel.
A little hotel.
Boutique hotel.
And it's closed in the summer, and I knew that I was going to need some rooms at some point, so I had done a bunch of work for her, and then I called in my favor, and we got comped rooms for a couple weeks. But they were also eating out and doing all those things because you can't be using your galley like you normally would. So we figured probably about $400 in that 2 weeks of mostly food and stuff.
Food and tips.
Food and tips and beverages.
Mezcal.
Okay, so those are all our numbers, but we're going to break it down in one big chart for you here on the screen so you can kind of see everything and put it all together. Individually, it may not seem that bad, but sometimes when you do the grand
start doing the
total,
math, you're like, holy crap.
I'm really glad we bought all the parts and materials over a long amount of time.
Yeah, this was over a 2-year span. We're just
collecting
bits and pieces to do this.
Okay, but for yard fees and haul out, it came to $2,052.
Labor, tips, and drinks, $8,900.
Materials and shipping, $9,858.
Then we had the subcontractors and the survey, that was $3,125.
And then just off-boat living expenses, logistics was about $400. So that brings the grand total to...
Oh my God, you ready for this, guys? $24,335. I'm glad I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, we had all this budgeted, but we had bought everything over such a long period of time and paid down payments. And so, making this video is now the first time we've seen the actual total.
So, I mean, I'm going to interject this. If you have different numbers, I mean, we'd love to see what you guys have come across in the States or wherever you are in the world. So go ahead and post that in the comments. Let's see what you guys have run into.
Yeah, I did look up just like labor rates. That's the big difference on most of this kind of stuff. In the U.S. West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, labor rates run about $110 to $160 per hour. But then in Mexico and Central America, yard labor rates are significantly lower, usually between $35 and $65 an hour. So that's where the big savings comes in. But another friend of ours got a much higher quote than that.
On a 55 Nordhavn, to do the same thing we just did, the yard quoted him $60,000. So,
and that was just the painting and the scraping and painting.
That was soda blast, epoxy barrier coat, and new paint.
Yeah.
$60,000.
Yeah.
So,
come to Mexico.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really important when you're hauled out and you're doing all this kind of work is you have to be there. Show up every day. Show up in the morning. You know, you can go have lunch, but you want to be present to see what's going on, see the work, watch what's going on, answer questions. You're going to learn a lot watching these guys. I learned a lot watching Luis do the transducer and the through holes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so whether it's because they need supplies or materials you have, or you just want to stay up on the quality of work, they may just work harder because you're around. I do trust these guys at this yard so much. They do great work, but it's just best to be present.
So people assume that we are mega rich, wealthy. We're not. We work hard. We've saved. We've scrimped.
Yeah, we started out, we were paycheck to paycheck. I'm a public school teacher. Pat was just a new pilot trying to get his hours, and he was paying for his way through that. So,
Yeah, my first flying job, I made $12,000 in 1 year.
my first teaching job was under 20,000. So we weren't handed this Nordhavn. It is a beautiful boat, but we made some real calculated decisions so that we could get here.
Yeah, we always maximized our retirement. You know, from the paychecks, you had retirement, we had health care we had to fund, we had 3 kids to feed and put shoes on their feet and all that. And then after all that, we didn't have a boat for a long time.
No, but the first boat we did get, Pat was really good about setting aside a boat account, because no matter what boat you have, a 20-foot skiff or on up to a Nordhavn, there will be some big expenses every couple of years. You do need to haul out of the water.
Yeah, I set up a dedicated boat fund in our credit union, and every paycheck, you know, it started small, like maybe it was $50 a check. It's more now just because of the boat we're on, but every single check, a little bit of money goes into that fund. So when it comes time to a haul out or a big expense, you have money there. You have cash sitting there ready to go. So that's how we did this last haul out.
Yeah, so some of these numbers can look really big if you haven't had to do a haul out before, but we make sure that we are always saving year round so that we can do these kinds of things, because these aren't expenses we can just generally do out of pocket.
This haul out was more. We did a lot more than what you would typically do. So
yeah, we just want to let folks know we're just regular everyday people, that we made a plan.
Your budget, it might be smaller. You might be on a smaller boat.
Might be bigger.
I mean, Nordhavn took a 40 around the world. So, you know, buy the boat that you can do this on, and your budget is according to that boat.
Yeah, but then definitely have some sort of boat account, because no matter what, there will be big projects. We talk about it all the time. This boat's 23 years old. A number of things were at the end of life on this boat that we had to replace. And then bottom painting, that's normal maintenance.
Every 2 to 3, maybe 4 years, depending on where you're located. Our first 2 boats, we were up against a freshwater creek, and so that affected the bottom growth, and that extended our service life of the bottom paint. Here, it's really hot, high growth, and it's like 2 to 3 years, and so that affects our budget.
Got a plan on it. All right, so Pat, was it worth paying these folks versus DIY? We do a lot of DIY. Was it worth it?
Yes. Bottom line, it was worth it. Watching those guys scrape the paint off, watching Luis down in the bulb doing that through hole, yes.
It was
to me, it was worth every penny.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were able to save over the course of 3 years to do this, or actually this was only 2 years.
Yeah.
So we were pretty aggressive.
It wasn't too painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and we have already started saving for the next one. So we just always have this account that we're funneling into, so that we'll be ready for when it happens again. Okay? All right, guys, please, we want to hear in your comments. Did we overpay? Did we underpay? Where is there somewhere else we ought to look for next time we haul out? Because there'll be a next time in a few years. So
yeah,
yeah,
about 3 years.
Yeah. Don't forget, you guys, like, hype, subscribe. We appreciate every one of your comments and every one of your engagements. So keep it up. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.